It was the early part of June 2012 that God called Katie and I in completely different ways to change our focus from a career to a full-time calling into missions field. It was during this time God led us to Romans 3:31 to confirm what we were hearing from God. Romans 3:31 says, "But by shifting our focus from what we do to what God does, don't we cancel all our careful keeping of the rules and ways God commanded? Not at all. What happens, in fact, is that by putting that entire way of life into its proper place, we confirm it. We feel that God shows us things like this to speak to us through His Spirit, a prompting in what we now call answering God in simple obedience." But it was out of Romans 3:31 that we realized that God had given us a name for our ministry of Changing Focus Ministries. So before God gave us the verse in Romans, He had spoke to Katie and I differently about getting started into missions. And my testimony into this was started by God asking me to write down my top 3 priorities. And after a little while, I came to a decision that my top 3 priorities in life were 1, my relationship with God, 2, my marriage, 3, my kids' relationship, not only with me and my wife, but their relationship with God. Then I will never forget what God said. Now I want you to change your focus to something else beside a career, to something that encompasses each of these 3 priorities together. That's when I said, what kind of job does that? And that's when God said missions. As a family, we were living a life just like most, working a job, kids at school, and being involved at church, and loving on our neighbors, but we still had a feeling of not being complete. So when God said missions, we knew God could give us that fullness. So we said yes, out of simple obedience, and we began our journey of changing our focus as a family towards missions. And it was almost immediately we started praying about how to get started into missions. Does one get training? Or just move somewhere and just do it? So in praying about it, God spoke to me about doing a search on Google for sailing and missions. It was in this that I found the Caribbean Reach, a sailboat that was partnered with Youth with a Mission, also known as YWAM. It was shortly after this that God started speaking to us about Micronesia and Southeast Asia, so we put the Caribbean Reach out of our minds and looked harder at a school with YWAM that would help us in changing our focus to missions. So it was not long after this that we received a phone call explaining that the sailing vessel we had been looking at joining was being given to YWAM ships and relocated to none less than Micronesia, the very place God had been calling us to. And our experience in saying yes to God leads to some amazing things. Not to say that the journey in joining YWAM ships has been easy, but that now that we have been a part of bringing the boat to Micronesia along with approximately 20 DTS students, ready to serve the people in medical, optical, and practical ministries like water catchment and training them to handle their own medical problems, we can see how we will be a part of many people changing their focus to a calling rather than a career.
When Scott and I talked together about wanting to change in our lives, God spoke to both of us about missions. God gave me a dream where we as a family were in a boat. We pulled up to shore with all these natives coming out to meet us. They were dressed in bright clothes and had tan skin, and they embraced us like they knew us. While unloading the boat, I looked into the boxes. In those boxes were Bibles in the native tongue of the islanders that embraced us. I remember waking up and laying in bed wondering what this was all about. As I walked down the hall of our home, I asked God what this dream was all about and felt the Holy Spirit say, "You need to go." And then I asked God, "How can we even do this?" And He said, "Sell your home." So we did, and here we are, full-time missionaries. This has come at a great cost. We sold our dream home, moved away from our family and friends, and left all of our so-called comforts to go where God has directed us. There are some who don't understand that God has commanded all of us to go out into all the world and make disciples of all nations. Whether that means to your neighborhood, your town, or to a remote place on the map, make no mistake, God has called all of us to go. God opened all the doors for us to walk through, and in simple obedience to what He had for our lives, we have walked through them and are continuing to seek what He has for us. Our hearts are for Micronesia and Southeast Asia, but we continue to seek where He wants us every day, and our lives have been forever changed.